Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is March 17th. So, the first thing I want to say is I am truly and profoundly sorry that the American people have such a flippin' idiot for a president. Just wanted to put that out there. It almost boggles the mind. And I swear to you, I keep seeing somebody sort of, running up behind Trump and like tackling him like a football player. And I swear to you, I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. Okay. So big day yesterday in the stock market, lost 13%. That's bad. And this is the thing, people, okay? It's going to get worse before it gets better. And you need to sort of just understand that. You sort of, embrace that understanding so that you know that going forward, when you hear things that are bad, right? I mean, the economy is taking a huge hit, not only in your country, but everywhere. And the numbers are escalating. Again, not only in your country, but everywhere. When you hear these kinds of things, you expected it, right? You were prepared for it. And sometimes there's not a lot that we can do to prepare for these kinds of things, but at the very least, if we are at least if we at least have some awareness that they're coming, that it's happening around us, that tends to at least help a little bit. For any of those of you who are really, really having a hard time coping with what's going on, or feel like things are really, really out of control and you're having a hard time sort of staying in a place that is positive, hopeful, or even just calm, I really, really encourage you to scoot over to Soulprint Insights. It is the second channel that I have operating on YouTube, and it is more of a sort of a spiritual evolution kind of channel. It talks about, how to sort of control your thoughts. There's a lot of really handy and helpful guided meditations in there. I really, really encourage those of you who have perhaps subscribed but never actually checked in, or who are new to this channel, or maybe haven't heard me talking about it before. I really encourage you, Soulprint Insights. I think that there is help on that channel. There's simply help on the channel, so check it out. Okay, so yeah, the Supreme Court has canceled oral arguments, and I saw a lot of people kind of reacting like, oh, Trump wins again, Trump wins again. He doesn't win again. Look at it this way. The longer those oral arguments are delayed, that means that as Trump is leaving office, as he's maybe not going to have the protection of the office, some of this stuff could end up coming to light. I think that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of judges out there, who maybe are not that interested. I'm not talking specifically about the Supreme Court, but who are really sort of reluctant to go against him if they were appointed by a Republican president, or whatever their story was. So, just take a couple of breaths and relax. The universe always has things so much more brilliantly figured out than any of us do. So let's take comfort from that for a moment. However, the whole Supreme Court thing and the whole judge thing, there was, of course, McConnell, clearly not holding his cards very close to the vest, because he is out there panicking, basically saying, listen, if you're going to retire, go retire, get out, get out, get out. We need to cram the courts with as many of our really, really conservative judges as we possibly can. Well, geez, I guess he wouldn't be panicking that way if he actually understood that there was the potential for Trump to remain in office for another 4 years. So clearly, McConnell and the GOP are starting to wake up and frankly face some rather terrifying facts. So that's exactly who and what we're going to look at today. Come on down. All right, here we go. Mitch McConnell and the GOP. Mitch McConnell and the GOP. What is the story there? What are they doing? How are they coping? Are they coping? Let's go. Here we go. McConnell, GOP current. McConnell, GOP current. McConnell, GOP current. Yep, they're hang dry. They are hanging on. They are doing everything in their power to hang on as best they can because they understand that the fool is giving them great anxiety and that ultimately the truth and justice are going to have the final say. Okay? They're hanging on as tight as they can because the fool is giving them anxiety because they understand that eventually justice, the truth, is going to come out and justice is going to have its say. So that's a great place to start, right? They're working very, very hard. McConnell is working very, very hard. He's trying to firm up deals overseas. The problem is, of course, literally the countries are shutting down. And so it's getting harder and harder to sort of manipulate things because the people aren't in place, okay? People are sick. They're not in their offices. Communications have become very difficult, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's doing his best to hang on to his power. He's trying to get a lot accomplished behind the scenes, but you know what? It's really, really not working for him. And, you know, just the other day, and I don't quite remember the specifics, but it was all about the Pelosi Mnuchin bill that got put together. And literally, at one point, McConnell is, you know, ripping Pelosi apart and, you know, basically saying she's useless and inept and everything else. And then a couple of hours later, a tweet comes out from Trump saying, yeah, he's going to support this thing. And, you know, McConnell's all over himself talking about what a brilliant deal it is. So people are, of course, seeing through him now, too. And, you know, he's trying to put this is the thing with McConnell, okay? He is really aware that the writing is on the wall and honestly that his time is numbered. I think this is the first time, like really, really clearly and objectively, that he actually recognizes that, you know what? My days are numbered, okay? And so he is very, very busy behind the scenes trying to get things lined up, put in order. And I wouldn't even be surprised if in terms of, you know, trying to maybe hide some stuff, get some stuff destroyed or brushed under the carpet, because he, for the first time, actually realizes that, you know what, he does not have a way to go forward. I absolutely do not see him winning re-election. And I think that he, for the first time, actually does not see himself winning re-election. This whole situation is growing so much bigger. It's so much faster. And everywhere the GOP look, they have ineptitude guiding them. So a lot of them that have supported Trump, who have stood behind Trump, a lot of them who, you know, hitched their wagon to his star, they are absolutely destined to end up heartbroken because momentum is building and it is building stronger and stronger. First of all, you have the divine feminine here, you know, as part of that, right? Energizing and feeding the whole idea of nurturing and of embracing and, you know, taking care of, literally taking care of each other, being mindful of the other. And as that energy grows, more and more of that sort of old white dinosaur energy, and sometimes dinosaurs they're called dinosaurs because they're really old to my way of thinking. It's sort of my term. But you can have 25 and 35-year-old dinosaurs roaming around out there, and they are not maybe old in age, but they certainly are very old in attitudes, in their perceptions of how things should be. So as that gains strength and power, more and more they see that the way they have been conducting themselves is really, really not going to be well accepted. And there's a lot behind the scenes that we do not know about. And the reality is that at some point it's going to come out. And as it comes out, as this stuff starts unfolding, and probably a lot of it is only going to come out with a new administration. But as it happens, whatever little fragment of their name, their lives, their reputation that has not been destroyed will be. And honestly, some of them are not even, I don't believe, even going to be around to face the music, because they will be facing it in another way, in a different place. You know, McConnell really tried to just ignore what was going on, because he was very, very hyper-focused on what he had and what he was going to gain and what he could maneuver behind the scenes. And understand, with McConnell, a huge, huge part of it was this stupid legacy that he wanted to create about bringing, the most conservative judges and flooding the courts with them. And that's okay. That's his whole game plan. That's his reason for being. Okay, you have to understand that. That is everything that he thinks about, he dreams about, he talks about, he wishes for. That's it. And so he has been so focused on that he was just sort of willing to ignore what was honestly coming out of Trump's mouth and what was going on. And now he finds that he has actually imprisoned himself. He has imprisoned himself, and he is really not going to have an easy way extracting himself from the Trump name, from the Trump administration, and from the damage that was done by a president who, of course, takes no responsibility for anything. And listen, those kinds of words, as crazy making as they are right now, and I know how crazy it makes me, and I'm Canadian, so I can't even imagine how insane it must make Americans to hear the kind of crap that comes flooding out of that guy's mouth on a minute-by-minute basis. I'm talking about Trump. But in ignoring it, he has now brought along his own destruction and his own fall, because McConnell wasn't paying attention because he was so hyper-focused on what he wanted. And now, going forward, his name and Trump's are going to be forever together. And so that then makes it very difficult going forward for him to salvage anything. Okay, it's not going to happen. So imprisoned. I mean, oh my goodness, she's got the Eight of Swords here and the Nine of Wands here. It's just not a good situation. And why? Well, because he was completely focused on his emotions, on what he wanted, on how he wanted it to happen, and moving forward his own agenda. He was all about, look at me, I did this to the court system, look at me, I'm brilliant. Except now he's found himself in a cage. Frankly, not that different, metaphorically, than the cage that he stood by, and in fact, in some ways, I suspect encouraged. The very cages that those innocent people, men, women, children, babies, are in cages at your borders. He's put himself in that same kind of a cage, metaphysically. And the price for that and the consequences for that, wow, they're not going to be good. Not going to be good. He really doesn't have sort of a way forward. He's too closely tied to the Trump name now. He's too closely tied to the failings and the faults of the grand old party, of the Republicans, in connection to this president, in connection to what is going on, and the complete ineptitude of what is going on. He's never going to be able to pull himself away. And you know what? It's kind of surprising, right? They took off the weekend. I am recording this on the Monday afternoon, so I don't know what has happened to that bill. I don't know if it's made its way to the Senate and if the Senate has taken it up yet. But as I said, you've got a situation here where he put himself into the pot and slowly he's boiling. And like I say, the tricks, the deceit, the deceptions, the lies are all going to come up. They're all going to surface. And those Republicans who are not standing separate are going to have a very, very hard time going forward. You have Republican governors who are really, really starting to pull away a little bit from the party line and getting really focused on doing whatever they need to do to help the people of their state. And again, as that continues, as that pulling away continues, you're going to see the very foundation of that Republican Party starting to get soft and shift. And so not only is it Trump's destruction, not only is it McConnell's destruction, not only is it the GOP's destruction, it is literally the entire party is going to almost like collapse under the weight of its own ineptitude, hubris, its own ridiculous story and lies. People have asked me when do I think that the GOP or the Republicans in any way, shape, or form are going to actually come back into power again. And I have said quite seriously that I can't see them gaining any significant hold at all for at least the next 20 years. And honestly, as the situation with 19 gets bigger and bigger and harder control, and less stuff was done when it should have been done to try to settle this thing down or slow it down, it's going to be worse, and it's going to be longer than even that, I suspect, because there's so much that is hidden right now, and the government is so hamstrung by the fool at the top, and the fool at the top not only of the White House and the presidency, but the fool at the top of the party, that there's just not going to be a recovery for it. I mean, I keep trying to find something, and there isn't. Look, they have the strength card, so that was what they thought was going to be their brilliance, right? It was going to be the judges. It was going to be the fact that they could just do whatever they wanted and however they wanted because they had the power. And well, guess what? You know what? That's not working for them. Right? You've got stabs in the back. You've got thievery and theft. What is being lost? What is being taken away is absolutely any respect from their own supporters. I saw something the other day that was very, very sad to me. It was a poll, I guess, about what people thought of Trump's handling of this situation, and it was it was like 49%, if I remember correctly, it was like 49% approve and 51% disapprove. But when they broke it down, Republicans really, it was something like in the 80s that completely approved of how Trump was handling this. They didn't think it was serious. They thought the Democrats were overreacting, and certainly that the Democrats had cooked this whole thing up. Apparently that Jerry Falwell guy, that's the son, the junior guy, recently was out there yakking about how not only was this pandemic being amplified by the Democrats, but in fact, the Chinese and the Japanese had conspired to bring this thing to America, to bring down Trump. Okay, so let's just start with the insanity of that. First of all, the Chinese and the Japanese love Trump because he's a flippin' fool and they can maneuver him like a puppet. So that doesn't even make sense. And I guess in Jerry Falwell Jr.'s little pea brain, he missed the whole thing about, the rest of the globe also having this problem. Nope. According to what he says, it went straight from China and Japan straight into the United States to destroy Trump. And people believe it. That's what's so scary, right? His followers believe this nonsense. So they are the ones who are not washing their hands. They are the ones who are not taking this seriously. They are the ones. And because they are the ones, I fear that disproportionately you're going to find the states where the Republicans have a real stronghold, that ultimately those states may be impacted even more severely than other states. Are going to be impacted more dramatically than states that are at least taking this thing seriously. And for, Democrat-leaning people in the Republican states, you are taking it seriously because you are getting your news from the right sources and you are taking all the precautions you need to take. So, where are we at here? Yeah. It's very, very sad what is going on, but part of what is happening specifically in the United States, because you have such incompetence at the top, is that anybody who understands any sort of spiritualistic values understands the big one. The top one is every action has a consequence. And so this is what you have here, right? You have the consequences now of what was allowed to carry on and conduct itself for the last 3.5 years. You have, 30% of the country who is getting bad news, who is getting false news, who believes that this is a hoax. You have people who are not being proactive. This is the consequence of allowing him to rule the roost, because certainly in McConnell's case, because, he wanted to have a legacy of flooding the courts with all of these judges who have antiquated and ridiculous ideas about things that really, I can't quite understand how it is that a woman's right to control her own body, as an example, how that grouping of people, whether it's the GOP or some of those judges, really, really think that actually belongs, the responsibility and the purview of old white men sitting in robes, okay? I don't quite get it, but because that was what was allowed to go on, and this fool was allowed to just keep yakking his head off and making no sense. Well, now you have a crisis, and the crisis is that you've got a man in office who can't even know how many thousands of lies he's told lately. It was 16,000 a while ago before he started lying his fool head off about the virus. So God only knows what number he's up to now. But you have that group of the population who believes it. And McConnell is going to take the fall, just like some of the others are, because the government is not being run well. People are not reacting the way they should be. There's more spin about this than you can even begin to imagine. And eventually the tower comes and the devil takes his due. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I guess there was opportunities for the GOP to straighten up. There were opportunities for them to pull together, but nope, they didn't want to take them because they wanted to be, right behind Trump. They surely did. He was the star that they hitched their wagon to, and so now, they're gonna fall by that same star. So, you know that your president is burning out. Okay, for lack of a better word, that presidency is over, except in getting his body actually out of the White House. You have the GOP panicking in ways that they have not been so blatant about panicking before, because they were too spineless and too weak and too greedy and selfish to do anything that would control this guy. And so now they are equally to blame. And there are all of these people running around America with misinformation, and this other bigger group of people with information who are doing what they need to do. And at this point, it's just important that, to the best of our individual and collective abilities, that we stay calm, we stay hopeful. We do not give into fear, and we do not give into panic, because when you give into fear and panic, your ability to think calmly and rationally just flies right out the window. And it's really important that we think calmly and rationally, and we make the right decisions for us and for our families, and that we take really, really good care of ourselves. And if we have to self-isolate, we do that, whether that is because we or someone in our close vicinity is sick, or whether we are just trying to protect ourselves. So these are hard times, and I can't sugarcoat it. I can't say, oh, the cards say it's going to be fine, you're going to come right out of this. I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is this is tough, and it's going to be really, really tough to get through this. But again, it's not a coincidence that the spiritual expansion and evolution of the people on the planet coming into their own spiritual power and their own spiritual light, that sort of broader understanding, and that this plague, for lack of a better word, are happening at the same time, right? And again, it's because one has the ability to fight the other. And while the disease itself can be deadly, mostly it's really kind of an inconvenience at this point. And I don't minimize anybody who has lost anybody to this horrendous, horrendous virus. But what I'm saying is, it's not like entire households are just dying inside the walls of their house. I mean, we are not in the time of the, potato famine, or we're in a different place. But what we do know is that there are so many people who are evolving and who are strong and are working so very, very hard to keep things calm and centered and in the light. And again, as bad as the disease might be, the panic and the fear, that's what's going to cause the problem. So hop on over to Soulprint Insights, if you have not. And until next time, stay safe, take care, and be well. We'll see you soon. Bye.